The Batman vs Superman 4-year anniversary has just occurred. A film, well, I loathe personally. I wanted to look at something which has always bugged me though. What went so wrong with Superman? Superman, the man who is the epitome of hope, truth and justice, was none of these things during his apparent trilogy of films, of which he's only the main character in one of these films. So what happened to Superman, the most iconic comic book superhero character, and no one seems to care about him, and no one seems to care about him. With no new films in the works, no one asking for stories about the character to be told, and Henry Cavill seems very indifferent to play the character again. So in this video, I ask, what went wrong with Superman? Let's start at the beginning.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's Superman!
No, not that beginning, the Zack Snyder beginning. Man of Steel was released in 2013 to an incredibly mixed reception. One side of the argument loved a darker take on Superman, whilst the other side hated the darker version of Superman and thought it was a characterization against the whole point of Superman. Me personally, I don't particularly like Man of Steel. Released immediately after the highly successful Dark Knight films, Snyder essentially Dark Knighted Superman, and for this character it doesn't really work. There are aspects of this film which do work, but overall the foundations of this film have set Superman up for failure, and the preceding two films backtrack on everything they have built on this first film. Now before I continue, I just want to say, please, if you are enjoying my content and you want to help out a small creator, please do subscribe. The button's just right down there, and it really does help out the channel. I also have Twitter, which would be really helpful if you followed, so if you are enjoying this, please do subscribe. So let's talk about where it all went wrong for Henry Cavill's Superman. And hey, he is a good Superman, but he's just been given terrible stories. Okay, so Man of Steel set the basis for our new Man of Steel. He doesn't know his place in this world, feels somewhat an outsider, but Pa Kent told him he is destined for greatness. He fights Zod, obliterates Metropolis, and takes on the moniker of Superman. A bit of an odd story, but it's the one we got. Now I imagine Warner Brothers expected the darker, grittier take on Superman would be welcomed to rave reviews, and our hero destroying a city, similar to how the previous summer's Avengers also did, the same. However, that's not what happened. People were angry at Superman's complete disregard for civilians, and I actually think it's exemplified in this part. I mean, stop the bus. You can do that. Why didn't he stop the bus? Anyways, I assume Warner Brothers were ready to make a Man of Steel sequel, which would have built upon his origin in this film. However, due to fan backlash, Warner Brothers tried to make their divisive story beats the focal point of the next film in an attempt to correct their errors, and have Superman answer for his destructive fight, which I'm positive was not the original plan, no matter how much Zack Snyder tried to say it was. Eventually it was announced the next film would be this monstrosity. Now I really dislike this film. It has a few redeemable qualities and acts as a film which is a complete course diversion after the aspects in Man of Steel which didn't work, but let's focus on Superman. Superman's characterization has altered somewhat. In this film he is now a reluctant hero, despite at the end of Man of Steel he seemed to be happy becoming a hero and ready to take on the mantle. In Batman vs Superman however, due to the world shunning him, Superman wonders whether he should be a hero for this world. It's a somewhat interesting way to go with this character in this realistic world Warner Brothers was going for. However, these ideas are never properly fleshed out, and the audience is just basically told instead of actually seeing some character development and dialogue with Superman, because well, we don't exactly get Superman who is the focal point of the film, so can't witness any true character development from the previous film. Instead we are merely told his development. In this film, Superman is basically a secondary character. I read somewhere he had only 43 lines of dialogue throughout the entire film, and in only one scene, the scene with Lex Luthor, he actually has more than 5 lines of dialogue, the only scene in the film. Batman vs Superman is a course correction of sorts and more steers into the skid, as Warner Brothers realised they had a fairly unlikable Superman and build on the criticism from Man of Steel, Superman's destructive fight and the amount of casualties, teaching Superman a lesson somewhat in morality. Superman now answers for his actions in B vs S, as if he is answering the fans who were angered by his actions. The film was basically made to say Warner Brothers had an idea the whole time, and Superman just spends the entire film answering the failures of Man of Steel, instead of, developing as a character. Before we know it, Superman dies in this film due to his sacrifice, and we are meant to be sad this character has died, making the ultimate sacrifice, which was not earned. So here is a question: who is the biggest superhero? And by that I mean the most well-known superhero. Superman or Iron Man? Easy, it's Superman, hands down, no contest. Now let's compare the two characters' sacrifices. Which one hit harder emotionally? Easy, Iron Man. But that really should not be the case. It comes down to three aspects. 1. Tony Stark is a character which has been developed over 11 years from a selfish, ignorant man to a completely selfless man. 2. This character development has earned him an emotional sacrifice which we feel because we understand the character and his motivations and what he has to lose. Number 3, the audience is told and shown why we should actually like Tony Stark and feel his sacrifice because we understand what he has to lose. Superman has been in 2 films, one in which the character was received to a mixed response, and the sequel we are told throughout the film, is this man a hero or menace? Can you be that good if you're allowed such a huge number of casualties without doing much to stop it? If we are not shown why we should like Superman or understand his motivations, why do I care about the sacrifice he has made? Oh yeah, then it's shown he's alive, so even more, why do I fucking care? Alright, let's move on.
Sir Curry, I hear you can talk to fish.
Right, so probably the best version of Superman we've had over 3 films, but the most bizarre out of character one. So Superman turns up 2/3 the way through the film. At first he is angry at being resurrected, which I don't understand why, before seeing Lois Lane and deciding to get back out there and punch some bad guys. This Superman is far more hopeful, he doesn't have his usual scowl, has a smile on his face, and is concerned about the well-being of people. And he also stands for,
I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice.
Now this Superman works, he is hopeful and caring, and is actually somewhat inspiring. However, he is the most bizarre of all the attempts, as he is completely out of character. Whilst Man of Steel, Superman and Batman vs Superman do differ, the same basis of the character is there. However, Warner Brothers clearly realised giving Superman Batman's personality really doesn't work, and decided to give in to fan critics and do a complete 180 on the character, and basically just give him the personality from the comics. No reason, no development, he's just much happier now, and loves being Superman. Why? I don't know, just, don't think about it. And now we come to the 2 main reasons this Superman simply does not work. This seems like a silly question, but what is Superman's motivation? And by that I mean, why is he a hero? Why does he want to help people? What motivates him to protect? We're given little tidbits of information like Pa Kent telling him he is meant for greatness, but then the message becomes muddled when Martha Kent tells him he owes nothing to this world. Most of the time, Superman is just told he should be good, but he never actually learns for himself why he should be good. He never goes on a personal journey and actually comes to the decision that he should use his powers for good. The whole plot of Man of Steel is revolved around Zod attempting to terraform Earth into Krypton, and Superman attempting to stop him. But why is he stopping him? Why is he never questioning that Kryptonians and humans could live together? Why does Superman want to save Earth when we haven't learnt what motivates him at all and why he wants to do good? Throughout the first 2 films we are told Superman is a reluctant hero, but why is he a hero? Why did he decide to do good? What is motivating him to continue to do good despite the world essentially shunning him? We never have that moment where Superman decides to do good. Again, if we look at Iron Man, we understand why he became a hero, due to being captured and realising the effect his weapons have on the world. And whilst Tony Stark is motivated massively by his ego, we see the character develop over time and become more selfless, which ultimately ends in his sacrifice. A massive moment in the MCU. When the audience doesn't understand Superman's motivations, it is hard to connect with the character and feel their sacrifices or even root for them to win, because we don't understand why Superman wants to do good. It's no secret Batman vs Superman and Justice League act as a complete course corrections due to the previous film's actions. As I previously mentioned in this video, the characterization of Superman changes each film without any reason, the most jarring of these being how he's portrayed in Batman vs Superman as a reluctant hero to a hopeful symbol in Justice League. The problem you have with moulding your character due to previous failings is the character is robbed of any character growth that could have been experienced. A hopeful Superman is what I think a vast majority of fans wanted. and I think with some work the character we first meet in Man of Steel could have been that symbol of hope, but instead each film just alters the character to what they think the fans wanted, instead of actually developing him. Again, we come back to Iron Man. By the end of the first Iron Man, he is still a man motivated by his ego. Whilst he has done good, we know the motivations are pretty selfish. However, over films like Iron Man 3, Civil War and Infinity War, Tony Stark learns to become less self-obsessed. We understand his journey and what motivates this change in personality due to the events that have occurred and moulded Tony Stark into virtually a new character. But the journey is clear. This is what DC could have done with Superman. He could have started off as a reluctant hero and morphed into a symbol of hope. We just needed some actual events to help Superman's character development. For Superman, what events occurred for him to go from a reluctant, moody and stoic hero to becoming a man who stands for
Stay down! I wanted it,
truth.
you'd be dead already.
But I'm also a big fan of justice.
Sure, it's great hearing him say this, but why one film later is Superman saying this when in the previous film he was saying this? How did this character change from these two contrasts? Course correction is a natural part of cinematic universes. When ideas don't work, Marvel has done this plenty of times. However, you can't course correct a character without explanation. The ideas of Superman didn't work, but instead of ignoring their failings, Warner Brothers should have woven them into the story of Superman and allowed the character to develop so people could actually relate and connect with this character. Because to be honest, I don't feel like I know much about this Superman, and I think that is the major problem. Everything we know about this character has just been told to us. We've never actually seen his experiences, and we just don't understand what made this character be the man he is. So there you have it, why Henry Cavill's Superman didn't work. It's a massive shame as I actually really like Henry Cavill and I think he makes a good Superman. He's just yet to have a good script to work on when playing this iconic character. It seems highly unlikely we will see Henry Cavill back in the red and blue, but you never know, there are some rumours he will return, but this is yet to be confirmed. There are some bubbling rumours that he might be in Shazam 2, which, that would be really cool. They are two characters that really work well together, and I would like to see them have another crack at Superman. But there you have it for this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye bye.